Hello and welcome to another episode of the WBE Entrepreneur podcast about what's really like to bootstrap a company. And my name is Tiago, I'm your host. Do I repeat this a lot? Maybe I should switch a little bit my intro. Anyways, today we have a packed episode with a lot of things that I want to talk about. I want to give you some update on my projects, particularly in the indie offices projects and in the community. I have increased the price over the community, and I want to tell you how that process go and if there are already people joining or not with the new price. And we also had the second meeting with our WBE labs. So in our community, we are building a project together. It's called Collab Club. And the main driver of that project is Max. And I had a little chat with him just to speak with him and understand how this process is going from his perspective. I think it's also really important. And I also want to speak a little bit about feeling lonely. I started this topic last week and it's not improving. So I want to speak with you about that. And let's see how or where this brings us. But before we start, I just want to welcome the two new members of our community. Welcome Aidas and Shawnette. It's a pleasure to have you on board. It's always nice to have new members and new entrepreneurs bringing new energy to our WBE space. And without any further ado, let's get started with today's episode. Today, let's switch things a little bit. Let's start with the project updates. So as you know, I normally speak about three different sections here in the podcast. The first one is the lifestyle of the entrepreneur, where I basically explore more the feelings. Then we have the project updates, where I basically give you updates on my projects and experiments that I've did, and I just share that with you, and some tips and tricks for entrepreneurs. Normally that's in the end, and that won't change. I will still leave the tips for the end, but today let's start with the project updates. So I have mostly worked in the community and the indie offices, and in the community something really interesting happened. I decided to increase the price of the membership fee to join our co-working space. The way the business model is structured is that basically people to join, they pay monthly to be part of the community, and up until last week the price was €4 per person. And it's always hard to come up with a price for a product that you're building. And when I was first coming up, for instance, with the price for the indie offices, Anthony from the Indie Worldwide community gave me a very good advice. He told me that we should not price our products based on how much time it took us to build it. We should price it based on the value that they bring to the customers, which I think it makes total sense. When I first started this community, as if you're an old listener, you probably know, this was just a perk. This was just a perk for you, the listeners of the WBE Entrepreneur. So it was kind of a motivation for people to support this podcast, because that's the only way I can pay the bills. I don't do any advertisement or whatsoever. So my idea was, okay, people can support me for €4 a month, and as a perk, they can join this community. And then I kind of realized that the community could be a product of its own, and I started working on it. So I built the virtual office, I built the random coffees, I built the wiki, I started collecting a lot of new members, and also discounts. Actually, there's a lot of discounts just for the community, just for WBE members. So slowly the value of the community was growing. With every new member, there was more value because there's new people joining, and with every new discount, and so on. And I kind of realized that this actually became a really nice product. It's solving a very important problem, which is entrepreneurial loneliness, especially for solopreneurs. It's really hard. It feels really lonely because sometimes people around you do not understand, what you're going through, and having other people, access to other people that are going through the same path, it's great, not only to support you but also to give you advice. So I kind of realized that the value that the community was giving to the others was rising, and it was only my suspicions, and I tried also to confirm this by asking around in the community. A lot of the decisions I make for the community, I always take the feedback and input from the members, because I think that's the best way to build any product, right? Whatever product you're building, is really important to get feedback. And we discussed this a little bit in the previous episode, how to collect feedback. So I asked around, I asked, what do you think should be the new price for the community? And I gave three options. The first option was to €4, so do not move the price. The second option was €7, and the third option was €10. Most people voted for €10, so this is more than 100% increase. And a couple of people also voted for €7. I couldn't raise the price to €10. I don't know why. Don't ask me. I just think it's too much. I don't think that I would even pay it myself. It's really hard to think and put yourself in the position of others. Since I'm building it, obviously it's for free for me. So it's really hard to think how much I would pay if I was buying this product from someone else. But I don't know. I thought also that €10 was a little bit too much, because I want to have the same price no matter the market. And I understand that there's people living in countries where they cannot afford as much as others. So I thought that maybe €10 was a little bit too much. And in the end, I decided to double the price to €8, which is really, really amazing, and still a big, big increase. It's a 100% increase in the initial price. So I was still very, very happy to do so. I introduced the rise to everyone. I told in this podcast, I told on Twitter, I kind of let everyone know that the early bird price was about to disappear. So if people wanted to take advantage of it, they still can, because obviously the old members still keep the €4 price. Is the early bird price. So I thought about it, and I was not sure if people would join with the new price. And I was very surprised to see that actually the two new members already joined, paying that €8 per month. That's really nice. That made me feel really, really good, because now I got two new members, but this actually kind of is the same as getting 4 new members in the old price, right? Because it just doubled. So yeah, I don't know. Let's see if the number of members still continue to rise, and I'm very happy with the fact that it worked out. And I will keep you posted on how it continues, and if I keep on getting new members or not. So yeah, that's kind of my update on the community pricing. Besides that, I have been working a lot on indie offices, and I have to say that my motivation towards that product is going down, because it didn't come from a place of passion. I'm not super passionate about the product. I built it because it was something that I really needed for the community, and then people told me that maybe this would be cool for other communities and other teams to work and to use this product. And I thought, okay, since I already built it, okay, let's just package it really nicely so that others can use, and maybe I can get some money out of it. but it's not that I'm super passionate about it. I still did it. It took me more time than I thought, because to package it really nicely, it was not that easy. When I built it for myself, I built it super fast, and I kind of knew how it was working. But to make it flexible, right, to make it available for everyone, and also secure, actually, it took a little bit more time. But now it's working. I'm really happy with the product. One of my biggest issues so far is to get people using it. So I don't know if this means that it's not a good product and won't work. So far I got two communities using it, the Code Swaps and the Indie Worldwide, but people don't seem very interested in joining the office. And when they do, it's really hard to get people to join together, because everyone is working in their own projects in different time zones. So it's really hard to get people together at the same time. And even for the wannabe entrepreneurs, this is really hard to do. I see a lot of people joining, but they kind of join alone because the other person only joins after 2 hours, and obviously the times are not synced. My idea is that if I sell this to companies that mostly are working the same time zone, or they're working in the same products, it would be much easier to get people working together. And I still don't know. One thing that I worked in this past 2 weeks was to create a bot, and the idea of this bot is to facilitate people to join the meetings. So this bot basically gives you an introduction. Every time someone new joins the Slack channel, the virtual office Slack channel, they will get a message giving a little introduction into the virtual office. And I just created some kind of notification. So for the first 15 days, which is kind of the trial period of the indie offices, every day the virtual office will get a message, a little notification, a little tip from our indie offices bot that will give you tips on how to use the office. And hopefully this will get people more excited and more into the flow of using the indie offices. And besides that, I have really no idea what else I can do to motivate people to use it. So if this doesn't work, I will just continue using the indie offices just for the wannabe entrepreneur community, and that's it. But I just did a soft launch. I basically shared it on Twitter, on Reddit. I created a video explaining how the indie office worked, and it's my last attempt, at least in the next weeks, to try to bring some people to use the office. I also now collect the emails of the admin. So the first person that joins the office is normally the admin. And I collect these emails so that I can ask questions, because I did have a lot of people, or at least like 10 people joining, or 10 teams joining the indie offices, but then I had no idea to contact them. I tried to search for their workspace based on their name, send emails, no one got back to me. So I really need to find a way to collect feedback from the indie offices users. So that's something that I'll be doing. And now I have their email. So let's see how this goes. And I will, as always, keep you updated, my wannabe entrepreneurs. The last thing I want to talk about is the WBE Labs, which, if you don't know about it, is basically a project that we're working together in the community. Members from all over the world working together in one single project. And the project we are working is called the Collab Club. The idea of the Collab Club is for people to exchange skills. So as a developer, I need a marketeer, so I can help the marketeer with some coding tasks, and the marketeer can help me with some marketing tasks. And that's basically it. That's what we want to build. And we realized that there are already some platforms that kind of do this. Funny enough, there's one that I don't think it's really in use anymore, but it's in Portugal. It's called the Time Bank, or I think it's something like this. And I'm not sure if it worked or not, because now it's not working. So I guess that's not a very good point or a very good sign. But we are still working on it together. Really, really fun. And I have a chat with the main driver of this project. His name is Maxwell. Is one of the most active members of the community. And he told me, Tiago, I want to build this. What do you think of this idea? And I thought, okay, that's amazing. And he's been kind of organizing the troops and having design sprints. And we already had 2 meetings about the project. And I just wanted to bring Maxwell's opinion to the podcast. So I had a little chat with him to understand how he thinks the project is going. So let's listen to it. So Max, welcome to the show.
I'm very excited to be here.
Quick introduction about yourself and your role in the WBE Labs.
Yeah, I work full time. I'm a dad of 3, and I've always had a bit of entrepreneurial spirit. And I've kind of set myself some goals this year to start some things, and hopefully make some money from those things. We'll see. And I came up with an idea, and you were kind enough to spin up the WBE Labs, and we've kicked off this this collaborative project called Collab Club.
So far, it's been 11 days since we started, right? Yep. The idea is to build a product from idea to launch on Product Hunt in a month, in February. So far, do you think we'll be able to do it?
Well, I mean, February, I realized this when we started, February is a few days shorter, so it makes it even harder. I don't know, but I think, you have to set some goals to help drive yourself. So, we've got to have a target to hit, and the target to hit is launch something before the end of the month. And this is the first time we're doing something with the WBE Lab. So, there's going to be a learning process in terms of how it works, as well as a learning process in how we work. I think you think about it this way, right? Most of the people that we're working with work on their own 99% of the time. They're building products themselves on their own. I know right. I am for the most part. Yes, I have a co-founder, but we've got different skill sets and different things we're working on.
Right.
And you yourself have said you work a lot on your own thing. So there's going to be some areas where people are going to have to work together and do things together, and that's different. And
it's a very political answer here. I asked you, are we going to be able to deliver in the end of Feb? And you're like coming, we're all different now. So far, do you think that we're going to deliver something in the end of Feb? Yes or no?
I'll go with 60% yes.
Okay.
There's some risk. Inevitably, we'll have some people drop out. I'm hoping we'll have some people join in. We'll have to, as I said, we've got to figure out things as we go along. Some things will take longer, some things will take shorter.
We still didn't start developing anything, right? So we didn't start coding, at least.
It's true.
So,
and even when I think about the marketing side, it's not a lot of runway to build an audience 4 weeks. I mean, it's taken us a week just to get some of the basics sorted out. From
so what have we done? What have we done so far?
So what have we done? So, well, I mean, we launched our project, and I think you said in your podcast as well, it was a fun event. We had some time on a call to sort of get ourselves on the same page. We had a bit of fun in there with introducing ourselves, sort of some team building. And then we kicked off with some of the big goals for what we're gonna try and achieve. And we talked about some of the risks as well as we're going through that. So we did that, and that was really useful to get a sort of base start.
Yeah.
We set up some of the processes of kind of how we're going to work together. So we said, okay, these are the things we need. These are the things how we're going to work together, and then these are the key bits of. I hate the word, but this seems to be what has been adopted. These are the key bits of homework all the team members need to do. As part of that first session, we did the logo. So we used the the amazing system and service that Dagobert has with Logology.
Our sponsors.
Yes, our sponsors. And that was a lot of fun.
How crazy is that we were able to get sponsors for the first WBE project? It's really nice.
I know it's very cool, and I have to say it was that was probably the most fun bit of the first session, was actually doing that as a group.
Yeah,
And
definitely. Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, and I have to say, Max, that you did a great work preparing the first session. As you just said, we had a lot of fun, and Max also prepared basically the full workshop we did, the design thinking, right? Workshop.
yeah, I mean,
And
I've totally stolen that though.
I mean, it's still
It's
preparation, right? So we
yeah.
are using a Miro board.
I've never used Miro before, because I've done design thinking sessions previously, but it's always been in person with physical post-it notes and loads of boards and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's always been over 5 days. It's never been done remote. Well, I've never done it remotely, and I never used an interactive board online.
Mhm.
But yeah, we use Miro. There's another tool called Mural, but I picked Miro just because it had a template in there already.
I think they made a great job with that tool to make it as close to reality as possible, and I really admire them for that.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant, and we've been able to use it, whilst we've been sort of offline as well, which has been
True.
great. So people have been going back into the tool and editing it and updating it,
Mm.
and I know I certainly get up. I get to see when people have updated it, so I can, go in and have a look to see,
Right.
how they've, what they've done and what the next steps we need to.
And so far, the tools that we are using, I think it's also interesting for the listeners to speak about that. We are using our Slack. In particular, we created a channel just for the labs because not everyone in the community is participating in this particular project. So we have a WBE Labs channel that people can join, and they can follow us and follow what we are doing. We have also recorded the first meeting so that people that couldn't join, or at least they couldn't join the full meeting, they could afterwards to check what we've done. And besides that, we're also using Trello for the tasks. What is your first experience with that? What have you learned on how to organize the Trello board in these first 10 days, Max?
I think the first thing I learned is everyone has their own way of designing a Trello board.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a lot of feedback and saying, "Oh, you could do it this way, or it's not the way I'm used to." So that was a challenge to start with. Most Trello boards that I've done before have just been for myself. So I think I've been going through a learning experience, sort of as a sort of leading this project to kind of understand how to use the Trello board. But I think we've now got into a space where it's working, and people are understanding how to tick tasks off, and they're understanding which ones are allocated to them.
We are now about to start our second session, and we are already having our first dropouts. A couple of people couldn't join today. How does that make you feel?
Well, I mean, I was predicting it was going to happen. I mean, it's. I mean, when I think about what's going on with myself at the moment, this is probably the busiest month at my day job I've had for quite a while.
Valentine's, right?
No, not. No, I don't work in a flower shop. No, so yeah, and so I've found this, even just this week, I've struggled to complete the things which I said I would do this week. So it's bound to happen. People have other commitments, and we never said at the start, you must commit this many hours, or we'll chuck you out of the WBE community. We didn't say that.
No, because they are paying for it, so I don't want to.
Exactly. So it was on a contribute what you can, get out of it what you can, and we'll go that way. So, but on the plus side, we've had somebody who is joining late and wants to join up. So,
True.
it's ups and downs.
Yeah.
And some weeks people will be able to commit more, and other weeks people will be on leave, on holiday, or just not able to work on things. So we'll just see how that goes.
Thanks, Max. Again, thank you for your work with Collab Club. Super exciting. I think it's something somehow pioneering what we're doing here. A community that from all over the world working together in the product. So it's super nice. Thank you, and I will keep you in the loop here and keep on bringing you to the show so that you can keep us updated with what's happening.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
And that was Max. And as you can see, things are going really well. He is really passionate and motivated to finish this project. One thing personally that I'm a bit afraid is that we won't be able to finish it in time, because we didn't still build anything. Actually, we are just kind of creating the framework and creating the idea together of what this project could be, but we didn't start coding. So especially February, it's the shortest month in the year, and I'm not sure if we are able to deliver something by the end of the month. I really hope we will. And yeah, let's see. We'll keep you posted on this project. You can also follow Collab Club on Twitter. The link will be in the description, and of course, we'll always be tweeting about it. Now, let's get into the lifestyle of the entrepreneur. And this part is a bit more about my feelings and what's going through my mind as an entrepreneur. I started this journey, as you know, a long time ago now already, more than 8 months ago, and I've been narrating my journey since then, which is kind of crazy. And I really feel that I'm reaching the point where I will have to stop. And it feels really sad saying this, because I cannot shake that feeling that I'm failing. But so far, the biggest challenge has been feeling lonely. Feeling lonely in my own project. Definitely the community helps, because I got to meet other people that are also working in their projects, which is really nice. And I worked with them. So it really helped extend a little bit my stamina. But we are still working in different projects. As an extrovert person, I love to have this team feeling, to be working together with others with the same purpose. Kind of be part of a bigger group, a group that understands what I'm feeling, and we are all part of a team trying to build something. And being a solopreneur, it's really, really hard. And I even wrote something on Indiehackers about how maybe it's easier for introverts than for extroverts. I don't know if this is true. I'm really far from being a psychologist and understanding the human mind. But at least the people that I've interviewed, some of them that are introverts, it seems that it's easier for them. For me, I don't know. It feels that I'm just getting more into a darker place. I feel anxious sometimes, and I feel that it's really hard also to make friends and to get out of the house. And the more I am in the house, the harder it is to start doing other stuff. And I've convinced myself already that I was going to try to get some sports going on, try to do something, but I'm just not doing it. I don't know why. I don't have the energy. This is, of course, also very connected to my personality, and I don't think that it's the same for every extrovert. I think there are people that are much more organized than myself, and they would be able to do it. I am not. And yeah, this is really scaring me. I already started checking for jobs and what possibilities there are, but I just don't know what I want to do. It's so scary, because I also don't want to go back to a normal job. I love being an entrepreneur and working on my own things. So I'm very in this confused mindset. I don't know if I should try to get something part-time, or what I should do actually. And one thing that also worries me definitely is the money aspect of it. I was living abroad, right? I was living in Germany, and I know how much money people can make. And I see my friends, and they're all making really, really good salaries. And in a way, that's worse for me, because here in Portugal, the salaries are much lower. And it's hard for me to just find a job in Portugal knowing that I could have been making much more. And don't get me wrong, I know that money is not everything, but it's definitely a very important part of your life. It gives you financial freedom, which I think is really important for your happiness. So one option is obviously to get a remote job, but then that wouldn't really solve my issue, would it? Because then I'm still kind of alone. Maybe I'm working with others and we are working together and I feel part of a team, so maybe that would fix that. But I still miss that physical contact and going for a beer and doing things together. I think it's also really important to have that aspect to be part of a team. So it's not the easiest of times for me, I have to be honest. I am feeling a little bit unmotivated, also a little bit with my projects here. It just seems to be really far away to be able to make a salary and to get a team together, right? Because that's also another option. I could just continue doing my own projects and get a team and work together with others. But yeah, so far it's, I don't know, even I'm not making even money for myself. How can I get a team together? I can try to get a co-founder. I'm just bouncing ideas here with you, to be honest. I didn't plan these episodes as I normally never plan these episodes actually. But let me know if you have any ideas on how I can fix this problem, because I don't want to quit, but it's getting really close to it. And I've, as I told you already, started to look for jobs. And let me know what you think. You can find me at the WBE podcast, and the link will be also in the show notes of this episode. And that's it for the lifestyle of the entrepreneur. I don't want to complain anymore to you. Thank you so much for listening. You are definitely great listeners. And now let's go to the tips and tricks for entrepreneurs. And today I want to speak about something that it's normally a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs, including me for sure, which is marketing. Yes, you need to do marketing. It shouldn't be a surprise by now if you are an entrepreneur that this is a crucial part of your job. I know that if you are a developer, what you mostly want to do is to build a product, build new features. But what I've been realizing is that it does not make sense to build features until you see your users increasing, until you see actually a huge need for those features, and until you know that this particular feature will increase either the usability of your product or it will bring more people to use your product. So I want to speak a little bit about the marketing channels that I've tried out and the ones that I've found to be the most useful and how I am using them. So in my first product, Change It, the climate change app, and if you're an old listener, you definitely know about Change It. I started actually using Instagram. And Instagram is the platform that a lot of people use to boost their usage and to get a lot of users. And I'm sure that it works for a lot of people. It didn't work for me. And that's kind of the first lesson I have to teach you, which is you need to like and love and be passionate about the platforms you're using, because you'll spend a lot of your time using them and figuring out how to get the most engagement out of those platforms. And Instagram, I am not an Instagram user. I only installed Instagram after like everyone was using it, and I only installed it to kind of build my own brand. I don't even remember what product it was back then, but I just don't like it that much. So it was really hard for me to come up with content for Change It for Instagram, and I eventually end up quitting. I actually was able to build my Instagram account mostly using bots. So I had a bot that was basically every other hour waking up and liking a bunch of photos in my topic, and these people would then follow me back. And yeah, I think I get like 500 followers or something, which is great, but I never saw a lot of engagement coming from Instagram. So my first lesson is be passionate about the platforms that you're using. It's better to use one platform that you really enjoy than having 3 or 4 platforms that you don't like, because in the end you'll just fell off your motivation, and you won't have the results that you're looking for. The platforms that I'm using that are bringing the most users for me are definitely Twitter and Indiehackers. So this is something that I'm using in a daily basis, or at least in a weekly basis, and I can really see the results. Starting with Twitter, I've spoken about Twitter in many other episodes. There's even a filter for Twitter. If you go to wannabe-entrepreneur.com/episodes, there's a filter, and you can check out all the episodes and all the tips I've given about Twitter since the beginning, when I only had like 20 followers, until a more recent strategy, because the strategies do change along the way. At the beginning, you need to do a lot of following and a lot of engagement, and once you reach a certain audience, then you just have to focus mostly in creating good content. So you can just go there and check out how I'm using Twitter. I even did an episode recently about my most recent strategy. But yeah, now I basically scheduling my tweets. I'm scheduling 4 tweets per day, which is kind of the default of Buffer. Buffer is the scheduling tool that I'm using. Maybe I'll reduce that a little bit, because I do think that 4, it's a bit too much, even though Buffer tells me that is the ideal number of tweets that I should release per day. But I can really see a lot of people coming from Twitter, not for every of my products. So for this podcast, for my virtual co-working space, for indie offices, everything. So it's really a platform that I love using. I've met a lot of people that I interview are actually coming from Twitter. So yeah, definitely one of my top marketing channels. Another one that I'm using, and it's actually working really well, is Indiehackers. I even spoke about it also here in the podcast. Indiehackers.com, a great platform for bootstrappers and entrepreneurs, and it's kind of a forum, so people can just go there and they can share a link, or they can write a post. You can use Markdown to write a post, which is something that I really adore, and there's just not a lot of people posting, so that's really nice, because mostly when you write something, it's always in the trending page, because there's not a lot of content yet. So it's a great time to use Indiehackers. And what I do is I basically write about my own journey. So some of the topics that I quite often explore here in this podcast, I write a small post about it, and I write it a lot of times in my phone, to be honest. So the post quality, I think it's good, but I could definitely spend more time in the wording and so on. I just don't do it, because it just goes from my mind to my fingers to the cell phone to Indiehackers. So that's how it goes. I normally have a lot of people. I even got 1 or 2 times my posts trending in the top, like the first position of Indiehackers, and this brought me a lot of users. And I use SplitB as my analytics tool, and SplitB has a very simple dashboard where you can see where your users are coming from, and it's really important for you to measure that. And I can see that Indiehackers is my main source. It actually had overcome Twitter, and I spend more time on Twitter than on Indiehackers. So it's really a great tool, super efficient. One thing that I've learned is that I cannot share every day, because I think it works like this. So if your post is trending, then most likely if you just share another one, it won't be trending as well. At least I tried already to share 2 at the same time, and one would always be there and the other one not. So what I do is, I think the page, your post will be about 24 hours available in the front pages of Indiehackers. So I just release every other day. So I write something, I collect the users, and then after 2 days I write something else, and that's how I am using Indiehackers. And I even got approached now recently by one of the moderators, saying that the next time I release something, I should message him so that maybe they can add it to the newsletter. So they really care about the community. They really want you to succeed, and it really brings a lot of quality traffic to your website. So Indiehackers is definitely a marketing channel that I advise for people to use. Besides that, or rather, even before we leave it, there's one thing that I use Indiehackers and I think is really useful, which is I use it in combination with Hacker News. Hacker News, it's a mystery for me because it's such an ugly website, but there's so many people, and the people that use it are super engaged. But it's really hard to get something trending on Hacker News, especially because you cannot post it more than once. So let's say I want to speak about indie offices, I share it once, and if it doesn't have a lot of traction, if I share it twice or three times, like I think they will just hide it, silently hide it your post. So they don't tell you you're blocked, but they will just not show your post. However, if you link to Indie Hackers, then Hacker News uses and shows it. So I normally have some traffic coming from Hacker News to Indie Hackers just to boost my post even more. So this is a little strategy for you. Besides that, Reddit and the Product Hunt, those are great tools for launching. I don't use Reddit in a daily basis because at some point the community there will just give you trash and they will block you and downvote you. But if you want to do a launch, so let's say you just launch a new feature or you launch a new product and you want to collect feedback, then Reddit is a great tool for that, to get your first users, to get your first feedback. And you just have to find the right subreddits, and you kind of need to read it and understand what is the language, and of course buckle up because a lot of people might criticize you and trash you. Just you need a thick skin for Reddit, but it's always a great way to get some initial users. And I just now did a kind of soft launch for indie offices, and I used Reddit, and I got a lot of people coming from there. And the Product Hunt as well, it's something that you really need to take the time for Product Hunt. You need to do a pre-launch. You need to get maybe a ship page, which is kind of a page that you describe the product before you even launch it. You get a lot of people, and once you launch Product Hunt, you need to like send it to everyone and ask for people to upvote you. And I probably will try again. I've done this already twice, but I'll probably will try it a third time to release the community, because now the community has so many new features that I think is worth it. But this time I will do it properly. I already have an audience, but I will like prepare everything. I will prepare it together with the WBE Space so that once we release, there will be a lot of people, and my goal is to get the community trending. So maybe in the next weeks I'll be working on that, and I will let you know how the launch goes, and I'll kind of prepare it with you. And that's it. That's the tips and tricks. These are the marketing channels that I'm using the most. I hope this was useful for you. And that's it for today's episode. I hope it was nice and good and not too boring. With me always, complaining about, man, being a bootstrapper is not easy, I have to say. But it's also really fulfilling. So you just have to see what you're gonna do. And yeah, if you want to join our community, the best entrepreneurs community that there is in the internet, maybe I'm putting myself too high in the pedestal, but it's a really nice place. It costs €8 per month for you to join, and you can meet like-minded entrepreneurs. You can get support, you can get advice, you can meet people from all over the world, work with them. You can join our lab as well and work together with us in our WBE lab, so our Collab Club project. The link will be in the description. Make sure to check that out. And that's also a way for you to support this podcast. I don't do any advertisement, so if you want to support the podcast, you can of course become a member, or you can just share it around with your friends and give it a nice review. This is really important. If you're using Spotify or Apple, you can give a review, and this will help this podcast shine and attract a lot of other entrepreneurs. So that's it. That's all I have for you today. This was another Wannabe Entrepreneur. See you next time. Let me try to do some beatbox. Maybe I'll just continue being a bootstrapper.